What's up, everybody? My name is Lance. I am the host of the Health and Real Estate Podcast. And today's guest is Richard Schulman of the Schulman team, which has done over $2 billion in sales, has helped over 2,300 happy clients, and is the current Keller Williams Director, Regional Director of the Westside LA region. So we have a lot to cover, and let's just start from the beginning. Like, how did you get into real estate, Richard?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me here, and thank you for the generous introduction. I don't know that anyone ever wanted to get into real estate. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think anyone you know, kids are out there like, I hope I can become a realtor one day. I in college, I ran a painting sales business, which actually is looks a lot like a real estate business, just that you paint houses instead of selling them. And, I would go door to door in the Bay Area and knock on doors and get people to hire me to paint their houses. It's like a whole nother podcast in itself, I guess. And I remember there was kind of a recession, and other people I worked with, we were really nervous. We're commission salespeople, and we're kind of nervous about the economy. And, what if people, it's the Bay Area in like the early 2000s, the dot-com like bubble. People don't have jobs, they're not gonna wanna paint their houses, pretty straightforward. And then I remember, like, one house in particular that I gave them a high price on it because at the moment, I was really busy. When you paint houses, maybe 2 in the weeds for your guests, but, like, you in the Bay Area, you have a limited window. You can't paint houses when it's raining. I hope that makes sense to your if that doesn't make sense to the audience, we gotta go way backwards in time, but you can't paint houses when it's rain, and you can't really paint won't dry when it's cold probably. You can't really paint when it's, like, 50 degrees and, drizzly, like, it just won't work. So you have a limited window. At the moment in time, I was pretty booked, and you only have so many crews. You can't really hire new crews easily. This is really gonna be a lot about painting here. And I remember the moment in time where what you do when you're busy, you just give them a high number. And then if they say yes, you make it work. And if not, it's okay. You lose the business. But like they were on a schedule. Sorry, that's relevant too. They had to get the house painted quickly. So it was like, okay, we got to get this done like next week. Okay. Well, I don't know. I said, well, I didn't say this, but like, okay. In my head, I'm like, well, the price is like $1,000 more instead of 5,000. It's 6,000. If you give me 6,000, I'll figure out, I'll pay the guys extra. We'll get it done. We'll work like, longer days or something. And the guy didn't even blink at it. And this is I later, as an investor, I later find out he's flipping the house, and the real estate market had gotten really hot. That's the real point of that story. We'll edit this down, right? You make this a lot neater, I guess, at some point. But I said, okay, I'll give this higher price. But he was so desperate to get the house painted on a schedule, he didn't have time to really go look for other painters. Probably could have charged him more. But that was like, oh my God, something's happening in real estate. And I'm looking at him, and he's like, not covered in paint. And I'm looking at me, and everything I own is covered in paint. You ever painted a room, Lance? Just everything is covered in paint, right?
Yes, I'm actually
Uh,
the world's worst painter. I tried to paint my bedroom once, and I got more paint on the ceiling, the floor, and the dog than I did
yeah.
on the wall.
That's pretty common. You find, like, your belt gets paint and your shoes and, like, somehow in your socks and, like, everything you own just gets paint on it. Like, okay, something's happening in real estate. Fast forward a year or so, I couldn't really find a job I liked after college, got my real estate license and, limped into a real estate office, unemployed, post grad, 22 living at home. And that's kind of like how I got into real estate. And if you have any other questions about exterior house painting, I'd also love to answer those for you.
No, but did you, because it was all commission based, so did a lot
Yeah.
of what you learned with the painting, did that translate to you being successful in real estate, or what'd you learn from there?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you kind of just squinted at what I was doing, it would be the same business, right? It was we prospect for leads, we find people that want their houses painted or their houses sold, and I made my own database out of Excel because they didn't really have online databases then. So I had probably still have it somewhere. I had an Excel sheet just color coded, and I would color code people based on how what kind of prospect they were. And every day in my free time, I would sit down and just grind through my sheet. And at the time, I was mostly door knocking for leads. We had some other marketing, but most of the leads were like, I would paint your house, and then I'd have an hour and knock all the doors around the neighborhood. In LA, you can't do this. People will not accept this. In the Bay Area, people are nice and they will open your door and talk to you and hire you on the spot to paint their houses. I tried briefly when I moved to LA to do this, to paint houses because I knew it's what I knew and I needed, to have make some money. And I found that the prices are way lower here. There's way more of that labor as versus the Bay Area, and the price correspondingly, the price that you can get for painting a house is not good. And then also, people won't open their doors in Los Angeles. But I felt like I was if I knocked on your door and I met with you, I really earned that lead, right? That's a lot of effort. I'm here. I don't here knocked on your doors covered in paint, you know, uh, and you're wandering around, and you get that lead. You really feel like I just call them. I just want an answer. Yes, no, tell me to f off. It doesn't matter. Like I just want an answer from you. You told me you want to paint your house. I measured your house. I counted how many windows you have, how many shutters, how many linear feet of eaves. Just want to know yes or no. Do you want me to paint your house? So I did that, and then and I run a team in real estate. I had a team there. I had, eventually I just did only sales from production. I had, painters, and I had a production manager, and I had people that would knock on doors for me. I'd hire more people to kind of expand the business. So it's the same thing, just different end product, but it's the same sort of like a home services business.
Awesome. Thanks. So yeah, you have a really large real estate team, but how did you start? What was your first year in real estate like?
Not good. I joined a big office, like a really well-run professional office, but everyone there was like a professional. I'm 22. Everyone there is like, I don't know. In my 40s now, so I don't want to say like that's like old, but at the time I thought, oh goodness. But I was like 22. I was like a novelty to a lot of these people. And a lot of them were much older and had been in the business for a while and were doing very well. And the new agents were also like they were mostly second career new agents, so they were like attorneys and accountants and professional. As I had never really had what you might call a real job, right? I still haven't really had a real job, I guess, but so I didn't really understand what that meant. I didn't have any real experience, like sort of like having a conversation with another adult and a business conversation anywhere past, can I paint your house, right? And so I struggled there because there was no training. The training was very high level. I'll give them that. The training was very much like, okay, once you've made a sale, here's how you avoid litigation, right? I learned a lot about that. I didn't learn anything. I remember they told me, I said, once you open escrow, then we'll tell you how to close it. And in real estate, I mean, well, that's really important, obviously. It's really hard to open the escrow. So I had a good work ethic and I really had nothing else to do, so I did the job. I remember one time I talked to my manager and I said, "Sometimes in the middle of the day I just watch TV, I have nothing to do." And she said, "You have to work all day long and there's no choice to not work." Okay, it was really impactful for me. And eventually I got burned by I can still remember the names of people who burned me showing properties to them. And I learned and I learned. And one day I just answered a floor call. It doesn't matter. It's like a thing that doesn't really happen anymore. And I drove over to a house in Studio City and I sold the house. And with like literally zero effort, just being there, you make your own luck. And that was 9 months in. I closed my first escrow. I then on Craigslist found a fourplex for sale at a little bit of a discount, sold that to a buddy of mine. That was my second sale. And then in the next 3 months, I kind of did like, I think 5 or 6 sales in the balance of those 3 months, sold a condo to a friend, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I ended up being rookie of the year of that office with zero sales. My first 9 months, I think I had 6 in the first year, did 6 the next year or 7 the next year, and then 8 the year after that, something like that. Pretty, pretty unimpressive, uninteresting start, but a lot of lessons there for new agents that, you need training. You need to learn how to sell. You also need to learn how to not get sued and protect your clients, but you need to learn how to sell something also. Otherwise, you're not really gonna ever have anything to do.
Definitely. Yeah, and I work with a lot of new agents. I help bring them on to KW, and I'm so surprised at how many agents don't know like lead generation is half the job
Yeah.
because they watch all these TV shows, Selling Sunset, $1 Million Listing, and that shows the fun, sexy side of real estate, showing these mansions, but it never shows how they get those clients. It doesn't show them door knocking or cold calling or emailing or building those relationships because
Be a
that doesn't
terrible
make
show, and that's the problem,
yeah, it
right?
doesn't make good TV, right? But they're all surprised at lead generation, which is half the job. And I tell them it's like, if cold calling's not your thing, like that's fine. There's hundreds of ways to lead generate. Find what works for you, fits your personality, but that's half the job. Like the MREA, it, they say like the perfect schedule for real estate agents is 9 a.m. to noon is lead generate, whatever that looks like to you. Then eat your lunch. And then after lunch from 1 to like 5 or whatever is you're out servicing the clients, going on listing presentations, showing homes, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lead generation is super important, especially to do it consistently. So you said you didn't close the deal until your first 9 months, and
Yeah.
you, the opportunity presented itself because you stumbled into luck because you were showing up. You did a floor call, which I don't think those exist anymore, but you did that. Someone called, you helped them out, then you found something on Craigslist at a discount, sold that, and then you started getting into momentum, and some friends or family started like buying and selling. But after you got into that momentum, what did you really focus on to get a steady stream of deals and leads?
Interesting. I don't think I was really ever asked that question that way. So it's really interesting. Here's the thing is I think that a lot of agents, myself at the time included, I'm struggling to answer it in a good way because it's novel, but I think that people don't have a plan or a goal. And I think most agents, I don't say hand to mouth, but that's really the only term I can think of right now. I think most agents are just very reactionary. I have to pay my bills. I'm going to go sell a house. Okay, I sold a house. Now I'll work a little bit less hard because I paid my bills. Okay, now I have bills again. I'm going to sell it. I think most agents kind of have this roller coaster and there's no goal. And part of that is because it's an odd thing. Most jobs don't have goals that are like so measurable. And most agents just kind of sell what they need to. And so I don't think I had a goal. So I think I just kind of floated around for a while. I didn't really have a plan or a goal. I was there for 3.5 years of my first firm before I came to Keller Williams. Keller Williams put the idea of a goal and a plan, a business plan, an end goal. Why are you doing this job? What are you going to do with your life? And, you know, are you going to make money? And what are you going to do with the money that you make? And I never had that in my head until I came to KW. So, I guess I just kind of floated around for a while. I sold houses. I did okay. I made decent money and that was that. There was no other thought to it. It was never like, well, if I get a little bit better at scripts, I can maybe sell a little bit more because I had no need or desire to sell anymore at the time. Now I do have those things now.
Definitely. So yeah, you came to KW and then you started learning about scripts and systems and models and different ways to lead generate. And also they kind of reverse engineer. It's like they create a plan. It's like, hey, if you want to make this amount of money this year, you need to talk to this many people because you're going to convert this many and you're going to close this many.
Yeah,
So,
and don't forget the key step of why. What's the big why? What's the big goal, right? It's not just I want to make X money. Like what will you do with the money? And so creating that layer on top of it in a sense makes sales easier because if you have a purpose when you do something, you do a better job at it and it's less effort as it's still well, it's more like volume of effort, but like relatively you don't feel the effort because you're committed to the goal. And so thinking about the goal might be as simple as like, hey, I want to buy a house, right? It doesn't have to be some, crazy grand
mhm,
goal. It's just like, I want to buy a house. I want to pay off some debt. I want to go travel. I want to, whatever it is, like you can envision it, you can plan for it, and you can execute on it. And so when you treat your job that way, you get different results than you say, I'm just gonna go sell 8 houses this year. Well, why? If you don't care why, you might not sell 8 houses. You could sell 12, but you're not gonna have the drive to go hit that goal.
mhm. So then once you came to Keller Williams, what systems and models did you learn that you started using as a solo agent?
Well, I'm really it's hard to if this is like a new concept to someone listening, it's hard to really explain, but just the idea of treating your business like a business is a really big mindset shift from because here's the thing, in my market here, our market here, and in a lot of markets, you can do several sales and pay your bills, right? And so most people are fine with that, or they don't know any better. And I don't say that in a disparaging way. It's just the reality of I've supervised a lot of salespeople. I've seen a lot if you can work medium hard and make it better than average living, nothing wrong with that, I guess, right? So just the mindset of changing from like, this is a business, this is an entrepreneurial thing. And the idea that there's somewhere to go with this was really a big mindset shift to me. It's really hard to understate or overstate how important that is when approaching sales. If you really stop and think about, okay, what's the plan? I think the plan for most people is, how do I generate enough money to go buy real estate and buy enough real estate that that real estate could do something for me. That's the plan for any realtor, whether they know it or not. It should be the plan for any other person too. Real estate, in my opinion, biased, of course. I think it's stands on its own. Real estate is the best pathway to true wealth for the average person, right? Some people, okay. Some people might start a company that does really well, or you might be a professional athlete, but like outside of these sort of edge cases, the best outcome financially for most people over the course of their lives will be the long-term acquisition of real estate, right? No one's ever lost money buying and holding on to real estate long term, right? So the plan in real estate is, how do I do that? And you're an insider, right? We say in, the stock market, you can't you can't do that. But in real estate, if you don't do it, you're kind of dumb. So, and by the way, if you're a realtor and you're not buying real estate, like, what are your clients hiring you for? Like, do you not believe in the product you're selling? Imagine if if your doctor was like, well, here's some medicine you should take, but I wouldn't take it myself. Okay, well, that's a problem, isn't it? Right? Here, buy some real estate, but I don't actually believe in it myself, but you should buy some. Once you sit down, there's a lot of things you learn when you come to KW and you have like a curriculum. It's weird, like, you're in your mid-20s and you're, like, out of college, and all of a sudden someone's like, "Well, now you're going to classes again, and you have a curriculum," and you have to, like, start learning all these things. The best thing to learn is that. There's lots of other things you learn. You learn how to interact with people better, how to have better meetings, how to be more purposeful in your meetings and conversations, how to represent your client's interests. You learn a whole series of things, but the most important thing is to treat your business like a business and have a plan of where you're going to and how you're gonna get there. Everything else will fall into line behind those goals.
Awesome. And yeah, I know a couple times a year you teach a class at our office about real estate investing or how to start or get into that. Um yeah, so how did you get into building such a big team?
Well, I'll tell you a quick story. I mean, I'll edit the story out because it's really not that exciting. I mean, basically, you just realize at one point. I'll tell you the story. Okay, so this guy, I know his name. I remember his name. I'm not gonna say his name, but like, I remember the guy's name. I remember everything about him. He's one. If you're in real estate, you understand. He's one of these guys. This is 2009 when there's a bunch of foreclosures out there, so prices had come down like 40%. And there were, I hate the word deal, but like everything was a deal. And this guy calls me and he wants to buy a deal. And I was selling a lot of foreclosures to buyers. So I get a lot of referrals because I was one of the few agents that really saw that this is a buyer market. A lot of agents were like really head in the sand. They didn't know what to do. But I was out there helping buyers get deals and they would refer me to their friends. And this guy calls me and he's one of these guys who's like, I'm gonna pay all cash. I want a deal. I'm like, everything's a deal. Like everything you can buy is a deal. Right now, everything is 40% off. He's like, I want to pay half off of that. I'm like, well, like, I don't have time for this. I'm so busy. I'm selling so many foreclosed homes to people who are just like throwing money at the properties because the asking prices the banks are asking are so good. And most things are getting multiple offers. And so this guy called, I want a deal. I said, okay, I'll call you if I have a deal, right? I'm not going to call this guy back. Like he's calling every agent, I assume. He calls the owner of the office, who I had never spoken to, and at this point, this is like 2 years at the office, I'm already by far the top agent of the office. I never spoke to the owner of the office, and if she's listening, she's not listening, but if she's listening, I want her to know that I would never forgive her for that, because I'm in there, her top agent, never made an attempt to even say hi to me. I'm producing my revenue for her. Let that be a lesson to everyone. And yes, 17 years later, I still hold a grudge for that. So he calls the office owner and complains this guy, Richard Schulman, is not calling me back. So she calls me. I know who she is. She calls me and she says, Richard, this guy's never going to call me again. You understand? I said, I gotcha. Okay. I go to the team meeting and I stand up in the team meeting. I said, I need help showing property. I got more buyers than I can handle. Does anyone here want to help me? And one guy raises his hand. This guy, Peter. Peter Stewart. He's an Indianapolis, fantastic agent. I trained him myself. Super talented guy. Just by sheer coincidence, he raised his hand and we ended up working together. I said, okay, I'm going to give you the first client I have for you. Work with him. Here's this guy. He wants to buy property. He's all cash. Amazing, right? Spectacular for you, Peter. Peter calls me like the next day, literally maybe 2 days later. He's like, great news. We're in escrow. And I'm like, "Holy crap, you idiot. You don't even know what escrow is. Oh my god, what have you done, you moron? We're gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna get sued." I'm, like, freaking out because 'cause I'm like, "This guy is out there under my name opening who knows what he's doing." Send me the paperwork immediately. Sends me a fully executed purchase agreement for $1.1 million for a house in Brentwood, 90049, by the way. The house is now probably $3 million on a bad day. Peter sends me a fully executed contract for 1.1 million, all cash, close in like 14 days.
Wow.
I'm like, all right, let's get you some more clients, Peter. And he sold the unsaleable guy a property. So and then then it's like slowly and then all at once. You get one guy, it's working out, you hire an assistant, it's working out, got a couple more buyer's agents, and that's a whole nother story in itself. But in retrospect, it looks like, okay, just snap, there's a big team, but it was me and Peter, and it was me and Peter and an assistant. Then we hired a guy named Kevin and a woman named Heather, and then we grew and grew and grew. And we've been around this size for a long time. We're about 15 people right now. That's good. We've been as high as 20, 22, as low as 10, but 15 is a good number. Because
That's fit
you
and
gotta
sweet spot.
invest time in everyone. Same as that story about the office manager owner that never called me or even knew who I was, right? I gotta be involved with all the people on the team too.
Definitely. Yeah. So it just started with your first basically buyer's agent because you had so much business you couldn't handle yourself. So you gave him what you thought was an unsellable buyer, unrealistic buyer. And you said within a couple days he had him under contract with $1 million home. And
1.1 million, all
one
cash, closed in 15 days.
wow. And then from there, I did you kind of have like a light bulb moment, an epiphany moment, like, oh wow, I could just rinse and repeat this.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you build a team, you have to, you can't just build a lot of people do this. They have a team, but the team is like, "Hey, we're the team. Go sell houses." Right, right? Kinda like my first brokerage. The team has to be, "Here's clients to work with. We're gonna partner to get this done." And the story of having a team is giving them clients. When someone calls and says, I'll give you an example. I just got a call a few months ago, and woman wants to sell her home, and it's like $1 million property. These are real numbers, right? I get it's basically it's a tear down. It's an investment grade property. It's going to be a super easy sale. There's not really showing. It's just vacant land. Well, there's a house, but it's like vacant house, big lot. The lot is going to sell itself. I could just sell that myself, right? I don't need anyone to help me sell that, but I give it to one of my agents to sell because that's part of the team. I say, "Okay, here, I'm just gonna hand you the signed listing agreement for $1 million property. You live near the property, you're a good match, social match for the seller. I know you're gonna put a lot of time and effort into it. You'll get a good result, same as I would get a good result, but I have to partner with you to make the team work." If I kept those deals on my own books, I would make more money in the short term, but my agents would leave the team or not succeed, and I make less money in the long term. And so
Mm,
you learn that over time as you run a team, as you keep a deal because you think, you know, I'm just gonna like cherry pick this easy deal, and then you lose the deal maybe because you were a little too busy and maybe the buyer's agent would give them more attention, or you lose the deal and you think, boy, I wish I would have had half that deal instead of all of nothing. And so the story of building a team is a story of partnering with your agents. And a lot of teams fail because they don't have leads. So it's not like on day two, I was like, let me hire more agents. It was like very cautiously hired more people as we ramped up in business.
definitely. Yeah, and a lot of the team members on your team that I've spoken to, they all speak very highly of you and they appreciate everything you do and everything like that. So kudos to you. Um so what was your team like last year in 2025? What were some of your numbers?
I think we did 160. I should know this. I always track agents track differently. I always track closed dollar volume because that was just when I started. That was the metric we measured. That was most efficient. So last year we did about 205 million in closed volume. I'm gonna say about 165 transactions somewhere in there. And we did stuff, I don't know, we did, land for under 50,000 and we did a $12 million house. We do everything in between. We really focus on being a total solution for our clients. We want our clients to know if they come to us that they don't need to go anywhere else. So we do multifamily, we do condos, land, houses, and different agents specialize on different things. Not everyone's not a specialist on everything, but The team did well. People had good years. I had maybe 5 agents do over 18 million in closed sales, I believe, and another 3 or 4 did mid-teens. So, when you're a smaller-ish team at 15 people and, 10 agents now plus staff, I think we are, and you divide out $200 million in sales, it's a good average sales per agent. So, I'm happy with the results that we had last year, and we expect larger numbers this year.
Absolutely. I know you're gonna crush it again this year.
I
So,
hope so.
is there anything else you want to talk about, your team or anything before we move on to regional director?
No, I think that's a good overview on the team. Look, you can talk for hours about all this stuff, but I think that gives you like that's the core of the team is partnership with your agents.
Love it. Oh, one thing I do know that you do with your team every single Monday, you guys do a group lead gen at the Santa Monica office, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Every
so you do that,
Monday, doing it for years.
doing it for years, every single Monday in
Yeah.
person lead gen the whole day, or just like 9 to 1 or something like
Yeah,
that?
like morning to lunchtime and then hopefully appointments in the afternoon, but just really focused on finding buyers for our sellers and sellers for our buyers. That's the job, right? So just getting everyone together on the same page to do that, to share information, to share insight, and to spend the extra effort to make those matches. That's I would do it more, but post COVID, I think everyone wants to be remote, and as long as they do it at home, that's fine too.
Perfect. Awesome. So yeah, how'd you get into regional director?
Well, I've been very involved in the KW. I've been in their private mastermind for top agents for many years, and I've been involved, in speaking at their events. And the opportunity came up to take on a leadership role in the whole region, and I thought it'd be a good transition for me to do more stuff that was, I've been doing sales for a long time, and so just like a new thing to challenge me. And it's very much like running a team. I run a team, but the team is 11 offices with about 2,500, 26 agents. And we're going to do, 5 or $6 billion in sales this year. So just working with the leadership to support and grow those offices and those agents has been a really fun challenge for me. We put on events. We, help to solve problems for people. We help advise them on growth. And it's been a really great experience. And so it's been my third year coming up.
Awesome. Yeah, I was excited when I saw you were being the regional director because I know you're all about like KW culture, systems, and models. And for whatever reason, there's a lack of KW culture in the LA area compared to like nationwide. But so I was excited that you stepped in, and I love to see what you're doing so far. But you said that you're managing the region is 11 market centers and how
Mhm.
many agents?
About 2,500, 2,600 agents total. And I wanna be
Awesome.
clear, it's not the KW culture just because it's KW, it's the culture that people like, the culture works for people, right? It's not just a dogmatic thing like, "Well, you're here and these are the rules and, wear a red shirt on Wednesdays." The the people who buy into culture do better at real estate, and culture is not I think people sometimes have a weird interpretation of what that means. What it means is we work hard in a collaborative environment. We are a very training focused company more than any other company. Any other company that's training focused is copying what we're doing, which is fine. We believe that agents should be better at their jobs. And if other people want to do that too, that's great for them. We are a training heavy company, training focused company. We are focused on outcomes for our clients, but we're also focused on outcomes for our agents. We spend a lot of effort coaching and training and believing in the fact that our agents should have what we call our bold. I see the bold thing above your head, you know, business objective, life by design. Like that's a real thing. That's not just a stupid plaque that you got, right? It might also be a stupid plaque that you got, but it's a real thing. We want you to have a good life. We don't want you to sell real estate for 4 years and then be unhappy and then quit, right? We want you to make a successful career because I know, we know that selling real estate is a great career. Owning real estate is a great thing for you and for everyone you encounter. And we want that to be an amazing experience for everyone. It's a real thing. This isn't like a sales pitch. This is a real thing that we do and we believe in. You can see these are all not all of them, but a lot of books that the company produces, Gary and Jay produce on these topics. This book right here, The One Thing, is a really fantastic book. It has nothing to do with real estate. It's just about how you organize your life and how you think about things. And I think about that book, and I've read it a few times. I've taken classes in Austin and at events, but I've learned from it. I think about it every day how I operate my life, whether it's in real estate or coaching soccer or interacting with my family, right? Like these are real life lessons about improving yourself and your world around you. So, yeah, I'll get off my
Definitely.
soapbox now.
Yeah, I love the one thing, all the books, they're the blueprint for success, not just in real estate, but life in general, business in general, personal growth.
Yeah, The
So
Millionaire Real Estate Agent, which is that one right there, that book I gave to a friend of mine that operates a law firm, and he operates his law firm on that book. You
mhm.
take out real estate agent with lawyer, and it's the same thing. So
Yeah,
that's true story. I mean, I've worked through the seventh level chart with him.
definitely. So yeah, I know you try to bring bold into the region a couple times a year. I know you've brought in career visioning. So
Yeah.
what are there any upcoming trainings or big events like Bold or anything coming up in the region?
Yeah, so we're working on a few things. We had a really big speaker in last year, Jason Abrams, who's just one of the smartest people in real estate. We're working on Bold for this year. It's a logistical challenge to get timing set and offices on board, but I hope that we can do Bold again this year. We are doing a wealth building summit because one of my passions that I want to share with the agents here is that we are going to help our agents become financially, I don't know, say wealthy. I guess not everyone can become wealthy. We want our agents to become financially sound and savvy and for themselves and for their clients. And we want that to be the leading edge of what we do. We have too many agents that just don't know what to do with the money when they make it and don't have a plan for their money. And it hurts them, and it shouldn't be that way, right? And the same thing with your clients. How can you advise your clients that they could make more money through real estate? So we have we're setting up a workshop training around that, and then we'll probably do a luxury mastermind and a few other things. We have a lot of stuff that we're trying to set up, and we'll have a really aggressive training calendar this year, so people have a lot of training. Plus, we have our normal out of town events, mega camp, family reunion coming up in February, which are going to be really great events this year. So we have a lot going on, and hopefully more and more to come.
Well, perfect. I think that's all I got. Is
All
there
right.
anything else about regional or anything
No,
else?
I think people here we disseminate through the offices. So your offices at KW will share with you what the region's doing. If you're not at KW, we'd love to have you. You can reach out. We'd love to talk to you about that. But we have a really aggressive training calendar, and it's not. There's really other than bold, it's really not going to be a lot of like, here's how you sell a house. We're really trying to take the training up a level and up a notch to what people really need, the next level. Now what, right? You sold the house, now what? How do you sell 20 houses and how do you do something with that money?
Yeah, that's what I love about KW. They don't just teach you how to be the best real estate agent, but they teach you it's how to be the best you, how to be the best business owner, how to be the best leader. It's more than just real estate.
Yeah.
I've learned more, and so I went to college with a business and marketing degree. I learned more about business and marketing 6 months at Keller Williams than I did 4-year business degree.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's really what we do, right? It's what we do. So, that should be the case.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Richard. I appreciate it. This was a blast.
Yeah, thank you for your time, and you can share my contact info, and people are welcome to reach out.
Perfect. I'll put everything in the show notes.
Great, awesome, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate your
Have a
time.
good. All
Yep.
right.
One,